Hey, Joe from Home Studio Corner here. Normally I plan out my videos pretty in depth. I want to make sure it's not too long and that it's valuable and doesn't waste your time. I'm gonna just kind of go on a tangent here in this video because I think this is a really important topic that needs to be fleshed out a little bit. So you'll understand in just a second. Stick with me. So a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month or two ago, I put out a video called There's No Such Thing as Laziness. And the premise of that video is if there's something that you're not doing, something that matters to you, for example, like making music, and you're not doing it, it's because of fear, not laziness. And in response to that video, Byron Parsons left this comment. Dude, you hit the nail on the head. I'm scared out of my mind. I'm stuck at a job I hate and I don't want to be at, and I want to do music full time. I'm good, at least I think so, but I'm scared to death because, like you said, I don't get much response when I put myself out there. Or put myself and my music out there. So I've got two questions. One, how do I get over this fear? And two, what can I do to get my music out there for people to hear and produce a steady stream of revenue from my music? Any help at this point would be greatly appreciated because I'm almost to the point of giving up. Only reason I can't is because I've got too much money tied into all this, equipment, monthly subscriptions, etc., to give up now. Byron, thank you for your comment. To see this kind of honesty in a public comment like that is awesome, and I really appreciate it. And as soon as I saw the comment, I knew I wanted to address it in a video, so thanks for being patient with me. First of all, Byron, you're not alone. If I do a video, do a little secret. When I write a song or do a video or really put out any piece of content, if it's giving advice, it's because I need to hear the advice. So I am not immune to any of the things I talk about. I have tons of fear daily. Anxiety and things that I deal with that are just a part of my existence. So I'm not here saying I've conquered all my fears and you can too for the low price of $1,000. It's somebody told me they want me to do a video without moving my hands. I don't think I can do that. Maybe in another video because I like to move my hands. Anyway, so first of all, your first question was how do I get over this fear? And the answer is you don't. And what I mean by that is there's a line in one of my songs, and this sounds so narcissistic. In the bridge of the song, Sing, it says, you can't have courage without fear. And it kind of gives you the mental image of a general going into battle and saying, men, it's okay to be afraid. It's what you do with that fear that makes you courageous, or not, I guess. So the absence of fear isn't the goal. The goal is to use the fear, or maybe a better analogy is to dance with the fear. I tried to write a song called Dancing with Fear and it just came out super lame, so I never finished it. But that's the idea. There's some types of fear that will go away over time. For example, my fear of playing on stage is pretty much gone. I assume if I got up on Wembley in front of 80,000 people, it would come back. But for smaller venues and things that I've done, like playing the Bluebird a few weeks ago, I was really comfortable. And that's not that I'm so awesome. It's just I've put in the repetitions enough and done things like this where I'm just so used to being in front of some sort of an audience that it no longer brings a lot of fear for me. There are some people, you'll hear about these major musicians and actors who I can't remember who, but I heard about one recently. Big name musician, had a decades of long career, who still would like throw up before every show. So some of that just doesn't go away, and that's probably a better example for this video. Some of those fears aren't going to go away. That fear that I'm not good enough, the fear that I'm going to be rejected, that I'm going to fail miserably, I don't see those disappearing. They're there. And I have to choose how I'm going to interact with them and what I'm going to do about them. And that's really what this is all about, right? So to your first question, Byron, I don't think you get rid of the fear. I don't think you get over it. I think you make choices about it. And that last video about laziness is a lot of us say, oh, I'm just lazy. When in reality, if we were really honest, I think we would all say, oh, I'm terrified to work on that project because once it's finished, it might be bad. Or once it's finished, people might say it's awful or no one will listen to it. All of those things. Or people might say I'm terrible at this. And I'd rather not hear that I'm terrible. I'd rather just not do anything. And to me, that's probably the saddest result of it all would be to hold back and not do anything because of the fear, and you end up getting the thing you were afraid of anyway. If I'm afraid that people won't like my music, then I don't make music, then at the end of my life, I haven't made music. So the thing I was afraid of making bad music, that even didn't come true because I made no music. You see how that's worse in a lot of ways? So anyway, I know I'm rambling, but I'm getting to a point here. I don't think you get over the fear. I think you look at it, and I think you have to step into it regularly and make it a habit. I'm afraid of this. What would it look like to do it? Now, I'm not saying, I know Graham Cochran makes fun of folks who say, do the thing you're afraid of. Because his point is then I should just go jump off of a bridge because I'm afraid of that. That's not the point, Graham, and you know it. The point is, if there are things, a lot of times fear is a compass that points you where probably you deep down want to go. But right now there's so much fear around it, you don't go there. But if you were just to use that fear as a compass, it says, man, I'm really afraid to put myself out there like this, and lean into that. What if you did that? I think you'll find that A, you might completely fail, or B, you might tap into something good, or probably somewhere in the middle. So to the second question, this will kind of tie things together. He says, what can I do to get my music out there for people to hear and produce a steady stream of revenue from my music? So producing a steady stream of revenue from music is not the topic of this channel. That's not what I'm about. Just because I'd rather talk about making the music, because to me that's more fun. But I think a part of me, being at this point and having a decent number of people who listen to what I say, I feel a little bit of an obligation to talk about it a little bit, because I have found a way to produce a steady stream of income from music for the last decade through Home Studio Corner and other things. So I'm not a traditional, I got a record deal and sold a bunch of albums. But I've managed to create income around my music. So my advice, and this is going to be hard because it's going to be different for everyone, is yes, you want to make music, and you want to make music you're proud of and music that you pour yourself into, but you also want to figure out a way to create value for the world around you. Okay? Now that value could be just in the form of music. You make music that's so good that it attracts a bunch of fans, and you sell music, or you sell tickets to shows, or you sell merch, or you get, Patreon, supporters, or things like that. There's obviously a million ways to create value, but that's got to be where your thought process is. You got to think more like a businessman or a salesperson, and less like a musician and an artist, because that's the world we live in. The fact that you put a bunch of time and energy into something isn't good enough if the thing you put your energy into is not good. So I deal with this all the time. I have a YouTube channel that I've had for 10 years. Guess what? YouTube's changed a lot in 10 years. Videos that I made that would just crush it in 2010 don't do the same thing in 2019. And so there's more noise, there's more competition, the market has changed, the world has changed a lot in the last 10 years, especially in the digital world. So I'm in a constant state of, okay, what am I going to do to make value for you? How am I going to create value here? How am I going to give value first before requesting value in return? And that means that if, today I've got around 90,000 subscribers, that means probably 89,900 of them are going to consume this content completely for free, and I'll never do an actual transaction with them. They'll never buy my music. They'll never listen to it on Spotify to get me a half of a percentage of a penny. They won't buy any of my courses. I might make a little bit on ad revenue from their views, and that's kind of it. That's the scale we have to think about when we're talking about creating value. I'm not saying you need to create a YouTube channel and start teaching audio. I'm saying you need to figure out how are you uniquely gifted to create value, to create value for the world. And it doesn't have to be teaching. That's obviously the way that I've found to do it. And honestly, I stumbled into it. It wasn't really my goal. It just kind of happened. I liked to write. I liked to teach, it turns out. And I enjoyed writing and making videos and podcasts. And as it turns out, that ended up being valuable for a group of people, enough so that I was able to find a way to generate revenue through selling courses, doing client work, tiny bit from ad revenue, and I do sell some music as well. But just yesterday I was talking to a couple of full-time musicians that are friends of mine. And, one guy, I'm asking, how's business? And he's like, well, things are slow. He's on a gig with a big country band, but they canceled the last 2 shows, which means that revenue, that income got canceled or cut severely. And he has to go find different work. It's a big major country act, but they're still, when they're not on tour, these musicians have to go find work elsewhere. Another one is a big name producer, but he just got a country gig. I think he was playing bass for a popular country artist for one show, and he's talking about how he really wanted to show up and crush it so that the person who recommended him looks like a hero. And he's always trying to do excellent work to make himself valuable so that more people want to work with him. And he doesn't have much of, neither one of them have much of an online presence at all. They've got a connection, a network of people in this town that they've worked with for years and years and years, and they've created value. They're good musicians, but they've also supported other people really well. I think it's a big thing. If you're looking to just work making music, make the other person look good. Don't make it about you and making yourself look good. How can you make them look good? So in my example, how can I make videos that help you make better music that make you look good? It's not about me saying, hey, I'm awesome at this, watch me do it. It's, hey, let me show you how to do this thing so you can do it too. And that's one way that I found to create value. So it's as old as humanity itself. How can you create value that someone else is willing to pay for? And even if you're not sure how they're going to pay for it or where the money is going to change hands, if you're thinking about value, it puts you in a different place. So me, like the last couple of years with my business, things like dueling mixes and my VIP membership and the courses that I sell, there's been a shift. The stuff that used to sell really well doesn't sell as much anymore. Stuff that I didn't think would sell well does. And so here's a very practical piece of advice. If you've made it this far in the video, bless you. You're the right person that I'm talking to. I am regularly trying things and measuring how it works. So you put out a piece of music. How does the audience respond at the show? How do people respond online? If you put out 10 songs and one gets noticeably more traction than the others, then try to figure out what is it about that song. Is it the lyrical content? Is it the beat? Is it more up-tempo than the others? Is it have more energy? Does it have less energy? Is it more honest? Is it more pop? Is it more country? Whatever it is, and then try to do more of that while still staying true to yourself. I don't do any content that I don't believe in. I'm not making stuff just to get you to click on it. Just like I like these headphones. I didn't review these just to review them. I actually kind of wanted some headphones like this. They approached me and I said, yeah, send me some and I'll review them. And I kind of liked them. So anyway, you've got to test. And that's where the fear comes in. You don't want to do a test because the test might fail. But if you can separate yourself. I talked to a business coach who was going through some stuff with me on kind of analyzing my business. And he said to write down some strengths and weaknesses, specifically of the business. And I would write down, I'm good at this, I'm bad at this. And he said, and it really struck me, he said, instead of saying, I'm good at this, I'm bad at this, say, the owner is good at this, or the owner has a weakness in this area. And it sounds like just semantics, but it really does make a shift of the only real way we can make some progress is we've got to have some level of objectivity. So we have to be able to take this thing in our head and hold it out here and look at it and say, okay, what's working and what's not working? And that's the thing. That's the thing we're afraid of holding it out here and say what's working and not working, because we're afraid the answer will be nothing's working. I've made courses that I was super excited about and I put out there and they just never sell well. I sell a handful of copies and I'll push it and I'll get super excited and build it up, and it's just not something that people find valuable, or a small number of people. So I'm glad I was able to help that small number of people, but clearly that's not, that thing just was okay and wasn't good enough. But you can't know until you do it, and that's where a lot of the fear comes in. So my practical advice to you is whatever the thing is that you want to do, put it on your calendar to do it. To just do one step of whatever that is. If that's to book a show, if that's to write a song, if that's to finish this single that you're working on and put it out there to the world. You have to get in the habit of doing the thing over and over. And then you've got to get in the habit of somehow separating yourself from the results. So you can just look at them and say, okay, that did well. Or the first time you do it, you may have no clue. Did that do well or not? I don't know. Let me do another one and then compare the two. The fact that I've done over 1,000 videos now, between YouTube and VIP and all the courses I've made, means I can pretty easily tell, okay, that video did well, that video didn't. YouTube has a statistics thing where it shows how the video you just released stacks up to the last 10 videos. And pretty quickly, there's some that I'll say, this one's gonna be great. And I put it out and it just does average or less than average. And then some where I'm thinking, this is probably not gonna go well, and it gets a bunch of views. I I'm getting better at being able to predict what works, but I still won't know until I put it out there and see what happens. It's the same with courses, it's the same with music. You just can't know until you give the market, the people out there, a chance to consume it. If they consume it, great. If they don't, then you can learn something from that. And I'm preaching to myself as much as I am to you, because I will avoid things that I don't want to deal with. There's a lot of stuff, honestly, with Home Studio Corner right now that I could be doing better. And I'm not. And I've tried a lot of things, especially over the last year or two. You may have noticed a lot of it if you're on my email list. And a lot of them just didn't work very well. And it bums me out because it stirs up those, you're a failure, you don't know what you're doing, you should have never done this to begin with, you should just shut it down and go get a job delivering pizzas. Like, those are the kind of thoughts that go into my head. So if you think, this is weird, but if you think of me as like having it together, I don't have it together much more than anybody else. I still have the fear in my head, and everyone I know who's honest, who seems super successful, has the same thing. There's the fears there, and it's just, life is about just kind of playing this game of chess with those fears, or dancing with it, to just keep moving forward and keep trying stuff, seeing how it worked, and learning from that and moving forward. And there are going to be seasons where you're going to ignore the important stuff because you just don't feel like you can handle it. And my encouragement to you is, it's probably never going to be as bad as you think it's going to be. It's most likely the thing you're afraid of is most likely not going to kill you. And there may be good on the other side of it, along with a fair amount of pain. It's not fun all the time. But to me, the whole idea, it's better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all. I feel like it's better to have created and to put things out there and to have your butt handed to you, just completely rip your stuff to shreds. But also, I got a text the other day from a good friend who said, man, your songs really speak to me. I don't know what it is about them, but this one lyric of this one song just been really encouraging to me lately. I've been going through something difficult. That's amazing. And that, to me, is worth all the mean comments on YouTube, all the silence, the crickets that you get when you put something out there and people just don't care because they're busy and they have their own thing going on. The music I've made that's just okay and not great. It's all a part of this process. It is a process. It is a process, a long and arduous, painful at times process, but it's worth it. Just like a relationship, parenting, I'm getting to the age where a lot of relatives, like my grandfather recently passed away. A lot of aunts and uncles are getting older, and we're just starting to enter that season of life where death is kind of more of a regular part of the discussion. That sucks. I hate it. But it's a part of life. Would you rather have never had parents so you don't have to experience the death at the end? Or are you thankful for all the good memories mixed in with the bad? Because the sum of the total overall is a good, wonderful thing, even with all the bad mixed in. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm rambling, but I feel like I'm also honing in on something that I need to hear as well. You made it this far in the video. Thank you. I'm glad you're here. I hope this was helpful for you. Leave a comment. I think videos like this, the comments are where the real gold happens. Did this video connect with you? Did it remind you of something? Does it make you want to do something? Does it make you want to not do something? Either way, I'm not going to shame you if you're like, I'm terrified, I'm never going to do the thing, because I get it. And I'm there. There's so much of my life where I'm doing that exact thing. So don't worry. Maybe we can nudge each other and just kind of encourage each other to move forward, even just a little bit. I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Leave a comment below. One thing I love about Home Studio Corner is there are a handful of crankpots who come in and are super negative, but there are 99% of the time really great, encouraging, hardworking, fun people who are there to encourage other people and encourage me. And so thank you for that. Thanks for watching this video. It's good for me to make it, and hopefully it was good for you to watch it, and maybe some good will come of this. Who knows? But we'll see, because we got to just put it out there and see what happens. All right, that's it for me. I've got to go take care of some other stuff, a handful of which gives me some fear. So there you go. Thanks for watching. I'm Joe. See ya.